Hey everybody, it's Kevin Ioli from Yahoo Sports. I hope you are doing well. It's been a while since I've been on here, so just wanted to do a little chat about the heavyweight title fight coming up on Saturday. I will be in Los Angeles for that. That is Deontay Wilder defending the WBC heavyweight title against Tyson Fury, the linear champion. That's on Showtime pay-per-view. Charging $75 for that. I love the fight. I don't love the price. I am not a big fan of pay-per-view to begin with. Wish we would get rid of it, but it's here now. 75 bucks for the fight on Saturday. And I just wanted to how you doing, Adolph? Good to see you. I just wanted to talk about the fight, answer any questions you might have. My official prediction is going to come out tomorrow. I'll give you a sneak peek. I'm going with Wilder. And I will tell you, it was not an easy choice to go with Wilder. Fury is such a great boxer. You know, he moves incredibly well for a big guy. Hey, Mo. And I think that when you see somebody who can box like that, who has that kind of size, you always tend to want to pick that person. And Wilder can be boxed. Wilder is kind of a slugger. You know, he does have some boxing skill. I don't want to sit here and say, Wilder is a total incompetent when it comes to boxing. But on a scale of 1 to 10, and when you talk about his strengths, that's not high up. I would say, he's a 5 as a boxer, where Fury is like a 7 or an 8. He's not Fury's not Mayweather. Let's be honest about that. But he is slick, he's quick, he has really good footwork, and he's kind of got that herky-jerky. He kind of moves his head and shoulders in an odd way, and it's hard to know when he's going to throw punches. And when you haven't fought him, then I think it's going to be a little bit difficult. But having said all that, I like Wilder to win the fight, and I think there's a couple reasons. Let's start with the fact that Wilder has been active and had been competing, and he showed against Luis Ortiz. I mean, really great heart. Think about the great champions, and they all have to come from behind at some point. They all have to rally where they're in trouble in a fight, they're down on the scorecards, maybe they've been hurt, and they got to find a way to win. And all of those things apply to Deontay when he fought Luis Ortiz in March. Deontay was on top of him, Ortiz was on top of him. He was outboxing him. He hurt him in the 5th round. Really made it look for all the world. If you're sitting there live watching that fight, you're going, Luis Ortiz is going to be the new champion. But then something happened, and I thought that was really interesting in the fight. That Wilder recovered. He came back from that. And the greats do that. That's what the greats do. And I just think that you have to give him a lot of credit for that. So now we look at the fight and we say, hey, Wilder has shown that he can come back from trouble. How you doing, Marlo? I'm doing great. Good to see you. And he said that Wilder can come back when he's in trouble, and he knows that if he's behind, that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. And he can end the fight with one punch at any time. And I don't think Fury has that ability. Can Fury stop Wilder? Sure he can, but he'd have to land a 4 or 5 piece combination, maybe hurt him and then land another combination. Whereas Deontay catches him with that one shot. So you very well could see a fight where Fury is way ahead on the scorecard. And then D. Brown, man down, will be in Texas. I definitely will be there, and I will see you. But this could be a situation where Fury is definitely ahead on the scorecard and Wilder wins the fight. I just think Deontay is going to have to get past that jab. That is going to be the big problem for him. Fury is going to throw that jab early, and he's going to throw it often. And I think Wilder has to know that, and he has to know how to get around it. That's what I'm explaining, Matt. I see where Matt said Fury will outbox Wilder. And I certainly think that is an issue. I'm just getting a text, by the way. my column on Wilder and Fury was just posted. My latest column, I've been writing a ton of it. So that's been posted. If you want to go to Yahoo Sports, you can check that out. I will tweet it later. But anyways, so he's going to know that jab, and I just think combinations. I don't think there's anything specific like, Fury has to land X, Y, and Z combination, or he has to do this. I think Fury just has to keep punches coming and keep moving and just keep putting those punches in Wilder's face and make Wilder react to that. But I think Wilder has spent his training camp knowing that, and he has prepared for that. And so I think he's going to find a way to get the job done. But I said, and I have a video on Yahoo Sports that will be coming out. You'll see I said on that video, a large part of me wanted to pick Fury because he's so fast, he's so quick, he understands how to box. And that's something that, I always, hey, people say I'm a big Floyd Mayweather homer. I just love boxers, and I know how good of a boxer Floyd Mayweather is. So when I see a boxer, I tend to always want to pick that great boxer. But I think in this particular fight, the time away from the ring, he's been back for 2 fights this year for Fury. I don't know that it's the same level of competition that, one guy was a cruiserweight, Safari. I don't know that prepares you to fight a really good, in his prime fighter like Deontay Wilder. So not so sure that I'm, big time into that, but I think it's going to be a fun fight, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing it. So let me look at some of your questions, what you guys have here. Let's see. Fury has been a boxer since childhood. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's no question that, he's been boxing for a long time. And I think, the odds, if Fury had been fighting regularly, in my opinion, had he not had his mental health issues, and that, I'm going to get into that in a second. I think that is one of the big stories of the year. I mean, it's an incredible comeback that Fury has, and I'll get into that in a minute. But if Fury had, that's a text I'm getting on my cell phone. Here, I'll mute it so you guys don't hear it. So now it's muted. So when the bat phone beeps, we won't bother you guys. Anyways, but I think Fury's activity level is going to be a problem. Getting used to that big punch coming at you, that big quick punch, and a big guy who can move. He saw a cruiserweight who was afraid of him, and he saw a heavyweight who didn't pose much power and didn't really move that much. So that's my, how I look at this fight. If Fury had been active and boxing regularly, I may have a completely different take on this fight. But as it is right now, I think, Wilder's power combined with Fury's inactivity leads me to believe that Wilder will win this fight. Now, is it a slam dunk, and am I going to bet my life on it? No. I am not. Brendan Sharp should jump in the ring and call out the winner. I don't think he wants part of either one of those two guys. But, I don't think that it's a slam dunk by any stretch of the imagination, guys. But I do think it's one of those things where the activity is going to benefit Wilder. And also, I think there's this intangible that really benefits Deontay. He knows this is really his one shot. If he gets drilled by Fury, let's say Fury wins, 11 rounds to 1, maybe drops Wilder once, I think all the chorus is going to be, yeah, Wilder was protected. He fought all these bums, guys that weren't really threats to him, and he lost. And Wilder knows that, and that really bothers him because he believes in himself, and he believes that he's the best heavyweight in the world. And he's been trying to get these fights, and he hasn't been able to land them. So if he loses, it's really going to be hard for him to rally and come back. I don't think the same is true for Tyson. Wilder, of course, won't be done, but it's not going to, he's going to lose a lot of the work that he built up. I think he is really going to come into this fight motivated. So to me, that is a big factor in this fight. So let's see. Marlowe said Wilder in 8 rounds, 8 or 9 rounds, maybe sooner. I talked to Gerry Cooney today. You might know him from Sirius XM at the fights. Of course, I know Gerry for years, but Gerry was the heavyweight contender who fought Larry Holmes in 1982. And what a massive fight that was. I don't know how old you guys are. Some of you Jim, I'm going to comment on Jim Jones just said, I worry for Tyson Fury's mental health if he loses. I brought that very point up to Ben Davison, his trainer, and he had an interesting comment. So I'll answer that in just a second. Let me just finish where I was going here. But Gerry Cooney, who fought a huge fight with Larry Holmes in 1982, and people brought race into it when neither fighter, saw it as a racial issue, but it was the Great White Hope, and Holmes was pissed because Cooney was getting so much attention from the media. And of course, saying it was because he was white, which was probably true. And, Larry, who was one of the great heavyweights of all time, was really embittered. And Gerry fought a great fight, but he fought Larry Holmes, who was one of the great fighters of all time. And Larry beat him. And I talked to Gerry today about the fight, and he's picking Wilder 3-5. He thinks it'll take him a round or two to figure him out, and then he thinks it's going to be bombs away. And he's really high on Deontay Wilder. I will have some of his quotes in my story that I do for tomorrow. That's going to be my prediction on the fight, but I'll throw some of Gerry's quotes in there. I find that interesting. I don't think he's going to get to Tyson that quickly. I think, Tyson's a puzzle, and you have to figure that out. But Jim had put up a comment, and I want to address that. For people who don't know, I've done a couple of stories on this now. Tyson, he won the heavyweight title by beating Vladimir Klitschko in 2015, and not long after, he really lapsed into depression. He had some mental health issues, and he tried to commit suicide. I mean, it was really sad. He ballooned up over 400 pounds. He was drinking, 20 beers or more a day. He said he was eating like 10, 12 hamburgers a day, and just was a physical wreck. Travis, thank you. I appreciate that. He said, thanks for all the content. I'm a legend of the fight game. My name is Kevin, by the way, not Mr. Ioli, but I appreciate you being polite, Travis. Thank you. So Tyson, after he beat Klitschko, he started having all these issues. And what he said was that he no longer had a goal to shoot toward, and that was his issue. When I don't have a goal to shoot for, I feel like I don't have to do anything. Life wasn't worth living. So I brought it up to Ben Davis, and I said, Ben, are you worried that if things go wrong for Tyson in the fight and Deontay wins the fight, that he's going to go over the edge again? And he said, no, I'm not worried. He goes, but let's look at the Klitschko fight. He won that fight, and he still went over the edge. He said, I don't think his problems have anything to do with winning or losing. And then he proceeded to mention that, Tyson needs a goal, and he needs something to motivate him to want to get up in the morning, to want to go out. And Tyson himself has addressed that and said that. So I don't think that he's, in this situation, if I don't win, I'm going to harm myself. God forbid that happens, and I don't think he's in that position now. I think he's, he's got goals, and he will continue to have goals whether he wins the title or whether he doesn't. I think if he loses, his thing is, I got to get back, and I got to get the title back. I got to get back in the picture, and then I got to get the title back. If he wins, it's going to be, hey, I got to get Anthony Joshua. There's always going to be that next one that he has to get to. So I am not so concerned about that as I might have been otherwise. I think Ben Davidson made a really good point there. So I don't give him a lot of trouble. Jim said, I hope Ben is right, but it concerns me as Tyson is so erratic in his mood. He's been great in this camp, and I can't say that I know him personally all that well. But anytime I've ever met him, he's always been upbeat. Obviously there's the public side of an athlete and a celebrity, and then there's the private side when they're behind closed doors, and we're not privy to that. And that's, the thing that we don't know. How does he deal with all this? And but just from what I'm seeing and talking to people around him, I really feel good about how he's acted. So I think that we're in a pretty good position, and I'm hopeful that he'll be in a good place, win or lose, on Saturday night. Anybody have any other questions about how they think about the fight, or want to make any comments that they would like me to address? I will be happy to do that. We got a few more minutes if you want to do it. I think it's interesting on the undercard, not the greatest undercard in the world. Luis Ortiz is on the undercard. If he wins, kind of positioning himself to get back into the mix, do I think the winner is going to fight Anthony Joshua? And that is the big question. And here's what I think. If I had to put my hard-earned money, if I had to put this beautiful house that I live in, put money on that fight happening, I would say no. I don't right now. I don't think the next fight for either Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder would be Anthony Joshua. And I think that if that doesn't happen, you're going to look to Team Joshua, AJ and Eddie Hearn. I think those are going to be the two people. If that fight doesn't happen next, that is going to be the problem in this situation. Now, I have heard from people who have talked to AJ and know what his thinking is, that he really wants the fight. And when the fighter wants the fight, generally it happens. I think Eddie wants to build and wants to make it a slow build and get people to subscribe to DAZN and have a few more fights where, you know, they make a lot of money together. You know, AJ draws 75, 80,000 to his fights in the UK. And if you get him out there and you put him and you have 2 or 3 more fights and he wins it and he draws another 250,000 people over those 3 fights, and say he makes $50 million in those bouts or even more, and then you fight Wilder or then you fight Fury, from a pure financial standpoint, of course, I think that probably would be, you know, financially the best thing that he could do. But that being said, I think, you know, you have to take care of business, but once you get one $20 million payday, don't you think you're taken care of? You know, you've made a lot of money, your life is set. Now, of course, you can make more and you will make more. I think the sporting part of it has to come in at this point too. And in my opinion, you know, AJ needs to come out public, and I think it's a huge, huge, huge mistake that he's not going to be in Los Angeles on Saturday for the fight. He said he has a business deal that he has to go to with one of his sponsors. AJ is the heavyweight champ of the world. He is a very big name. And if he told that sponsor, you know what, I got to be in LA for Wilder or Fury because that's going to affect my future, I think they could reschedule whatever event that he's going to around him. And I don't think that was a necessary thing for him to do. I just think it's a huge mistake for him not to be there. You know, what I want to see on TV is I want to see AJ get up, go in the ring, and go to the winner of that fight, whether it's Tyson or whether it's Deontay, and say, hey, I want to fight you next. I want you to be the guy. So as I said, I'm hearing from people that AJ wants the fight and Eddie doesn't want the fight. Eddie wants to wait. So who's going to win out there? I think Eddie is going to win out, because I think Eddie is going to point out to him that, hey, this is a really lucrative way of doing it. We can hold on. We can fight some of the secondary guys that are out there. You know, there's some good guys coming up right now, and do it that way. So that is what I think. I don't think it's going to happen. So let's see some of your other questions. Let's see, Brandon said, do you think Fury can get a decision here in the U.S.? Hey, that's enough. Be quiet. My dogs are barking, sorry. Let's see, I go back to that question. I apologize. Do you think Fury can get a decision here in the USA fighting the style he did against Vlad? I do. You know, I do, Brandon. I think he can win a decision. And I think if he gets the decision, he'll get it wide, because I don't think the rounds are going to be close. You know, I think if Wilder's not landing that big shot, I think Fury's going to be winning most of those rounds. I think, you know, Fury's going to be active, and he's going to be out there popping the jab and occasionally dropping a right hand on him. And I think he's going to be throwing punches, and Wilder's going to be winging that big overhand right of his. And that's going to miss and be obvious. And the jab's going to be landing and being obvious. So I think it'll be an easy fight for the judges to score. It's when Deontay lands. Can Tyson take it? If you can take it, that changes the fight. You know, it can't take too many of them, but if you can take that, you know, that big shot, you know, I think that makes a fight. But I do think he can win a decision in the U.S. I really do believe that. Let's see. Let's see. Hearn knows he has a serious cash cow in Joshua. Yes, I agree with that. Eddie wins or loses with AJ. Yeah, that's true. I mean, Eddie comes out on top. You know, hey, if AJ, and hey, you know what? That's good work. That's good promoting. That's good marketing. That's good stuff by AJ. Because if you put yourself in that position where you're the guy everybody wants, you're the guy everybody wants to fight, then you've done something right. And I think that, so he deserves to reap the fruit. It's kind of like Mayweather. You know, people complained about Mayweather, but people kept buying his fights, and he made himself popular. So he wasn't forced to fight Errol Spence or, you know, any of these guys that you guys wanted to see him fight at a given particular time over his 20-year career. He could do it his way because he made himself so popular. And I think that's kind of on a lesser scale what AJ has done now. But if AJ wants to go down in the history books, and if AJ wants to be remembered, or if he wants to be known now as the best heavyweight in the world, he can't just say, hey, I beat Klitschko, I beat Joe Parker. He has to say, I want to fight the winner of Wilder and Fury. That's what I think. So we shall see. Let's go back. Got a few more questions popping in. Jim, are you worried about the competition Fury has faced since he fought Vlad? He didn't look great in those warm-up fights either. That's what I said earlier, Jim. That is one of the reasons I'm picking Wilder to win the fight. He's been fighting good competition. He's been fighting on number one, he's been fighting regularly. I don't say every opponent he's had has been great, but he's been fighting on a regular basis. Fury has not. Then Fury's first opponent was a cruiserweight who had no chance of beating him. Safari had about as much chance of beating Tyson Fury as I did, which is to say less than zero. I would not have beaten him. And then Pianetta was kind of just a target for him. I mean, there was really no challenge in that fight whatsoever. So I do think the lack of competition, you know, that he's faced has been an issue. Let's see here. Who else do we have? Akeem the Great, how are you? He said, who you got for the win? By the way, I'm Kevin, not Mr. Aioli, so just Kevin. I kind of think Mr. Aioli was my dad when he was alive. I'm just Kevin. I'm picking Deontay by a late knockout. I'll have a column up on it tomorrow. I will pick around in my column, and I'm going to spend more time thinking about it. But I think, you know, sometime after the 9th round, I think, you know, maybe 9 or 10 would be my thought on Wilder landing that shot. And Jim said exactly pretty much what I think. Wilder's going to struggle early, going to get hit, but then eventually he'll land a big shot. That's exactly what I think is going to happen. I think that's how Wilder fights. That's how Fury fights. And I just think, you know, Wilder, when you have that home run power, as long as you stay within striking distance, it's like baseball. You know, if you're in there and, you know, you have a guy that can hit a 3-run homer, as long as you're within 3 runs, you're never out of a game. And I think that's what Wilder has with that. You know, he can land that one punch that it doesn't matter what happened in the previous 10 or 11 rounds. That he lands one punch in one round and the fight is different. That's why power is so valued by guys. Speed is great, but speed wins fights, but power ends fights. And that's the big thing. Brandon said he's got Wilder KO in 10. You're right in line with me, Brandon. Hey, Dom, how are you? Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. I always appreciate you guys coming on here. I am hoping to do more of these. I'm trying to come up with some format that really, I think, works best for me and for you guys, and that it's where we can have, I want to try to get it where it's interactive, and I can see you and talk to you. Technically, I'm not sure how to get that done, but we will see. So let's see. Keem said, what about sales? How many pay-per-views do you think the fight will do? My guess is it's going to be 2 to 250. You know, I don't think it's going to be an outrageously high number. I think it hasn't been promoted all that well going back to the beginning when it was made. I think Fury was really underused in the U.S. They did not have a U.S. PR person for Fury, and he was not made available a lot. Some media went to see him, but they weren't pitching Fury. And I think that's what they need. You need to have somebody on a pay-per-view fight. You have to get a PR person for each fighter, and then you have to have a PR person for the fight in general. And you have to have those PR people who are with the fighters calling the media. And not just the boxing media, but outside of boxing. But you have to find angles, and you have to pitch it. It's about name recognition. It's kind of like politics. If you know my name, I've got a better chance of getting elected if I'm running for office than if you don't. And I think that's, that's what we're facing here. And I just... Jim said, how is Fury perceived in the U.S.? I don't think Fury is widely known in the U.S. He's fought here once, I think. I don't have his record right in front of me here. I'll look it up while we're talking. But, he hasn't fought a lot in the U.S., and he's been kind of a European-based fighter, and he's a great guy. Like the times I've talked to him, he is an awesome dude. But they haven't gone out of their way to make him available to U.S. media. And as a result, the U.S. if they don't make him available to the U.S. media, the U.S. fans don't know him. And the U.S. fans, boxing is not the sport in the U.S. that it is in the U.K. We have a lot of other sports here, and things are cyclical and everything. And I think you have to really do something to capture the media's attention. And that's how you sell pay-per-view. So I'm just looking at Fury's fights here. Let's see. Belfast, Manchester, Dusseldorf, London. Okay, fought Madison Square Garden. That was the Cunningham fight. Going back, I fought one time in Canada. England. Yeah, so he's fought once in the U.S., once in Canada. And when he fought in the U.S., he got knocked down by Steve Cunningham. So that's something. I would say that Deontay Wilder is a bigger puncher than Steve Cunningham. That has got to be a big question, right? You have to be worried about that. Let's see what else I got going here. If you got any more questions, or I'll get out of here and let you guys go. And all right, looks like we're pretty much done. Gang, I will be down. I don't know if any of you are on Twitter. I hope you are. I'm probably going to do a Periscope from ringside before the fight card on Saturday night. Oh, one more. I got it. Odie said, Kevin, I hope you have a nice day. Do you think Fury's win over Klitschko was mostly based on mind games and the fact that there were some issues regarding his wife? I think, let's start with give credit where credit is due. Tyson fought a really good fight, number one. Number two, I think that style would favor Tyson in that fight. A big, gangly guy who's not easy to get to. And I think that, Vladimir was, I don't want to say at the end of the line, but toward the end of the line. He wasn't the same fighter that he was. And then I think, the personal issues that were going on in training camp, I think also popped up. So I think that's what really happened. Let's see. Hop said, do you think the culture in America in general, let me pull it back up here. In America in general perceives a violent sport like boxing less favorably in the 70s and 80s. I do. I don't think it's that. I just think that, boxing is perceived to, number one, is perceived to be corrupt, and it's perceived to be run very poorly. I think that is what the issue is. I don't think it's the violence, because, when there's a great fight, everybody's into it. Well, those are the fights that are going to be as violent as any, right? I think it's more, the sport, like you take the Mayweather-Pacquiao thing, even though they fought and it was a huge promotion, sold 4.6 million, they had, all the things that went on in that fight. I think the problem, in that fight was that it was 5 or 6 years after they should have fought, and people gave up on it. It would have been even bigger. And I think that's, but that's what I think starting to come back in boxing. We're starting to get the best fighting the best on a more regular basis, and they're promoting it better. And I think, when Fox comes in the U.S., and again, I think the U.K., a lot of you guys are from the U.K., and the U.K. boxing is a bigger deal to begin with, so they don't have the same issues we have here. But when you look and you're saying Fox is going to come in, well, I know what Fox does for the UFC right now. They're going to lose the UFC and they're going to switch to boxing in 2019. And there's going to be all sorts of shoulder programming. There's going to be pre-fight shows, post-fight shows, studio shows. They're going to, do kind of like whatever you want to call it, 24/7, what their version of that would be. They're going to have those. There's going to be a lot of content. They're going to be putting it out there. When it was just HBO and Showtime in the U.S. primarily showing boxing, there wasn't much of that stuff. There wasn't a lot of stuff that was out there. It was just, hey, fight on Saturday night, please show up. And now they're going to get you to know the fighters, and you're going to know the issue, and I think all that helps. ESPN helps, Fox helps. Showtime's been doing a great job putting the fights on. They're going to be forced to do a better job. So I think all of this stuff makes a huge amount of difference. So I hope that answers the question. Let's see. Do we have anything else? Let's see. I don't even think Mayweather had near the national global popularity that Muhammad Ali or Sugar Ray Leonard did. Hop, I'm glad you said that. I agree with you on that. I don't think, I grew up in the 60s, and I know how big Muhammad Ali was. And he literally was the most famous face in the world. I mean, everybody, any country you would go to would know Muhammad Ali wherever he went. And I'm not sure the same is the case for Floyd. And it would be Ali, Beaumaye in Africa, and everywhere they would chant for wherever he went. And Ali was just a different case. And I think Sugar Ray Leonard, not as big as Ali, but certainly I think Sugar Ray Leonard had that too. Leonard came out, remember, the Olympics were huge in those days. They're not as big, and especially boxing in the Olympics isn't as big now. Again, you speak what I said before, corruption. People feel like the Olympic judging system is corrupt. But back in Leonard's day, that wasn't as big of an issue. So Leonard wins the Olympic. He's on one of arguably the best Olympic team of all time. Certainly to that point, it was the best Olympic team of all time. He comes out, and he's immediately fighting on CBS. He's in big fights. He got a 7-Up commercial. He was all over the place. He was in the mainstream culture of American sports, just like LeBron James is. Boxers have a difficult time getting that, and that's one of the issues. Let's see. Akeem asked me, and I apologize, it popped off the screen again here. Let's see. One more question. If I think the Wilder versus AJ fight will happen in 2019, given Wilder beats Fury. Yeah, I think, I don't think it's going to happen next. I am optimistic that it will happen next year. But I think, Hearn is going to go as long as he can, pushing AJ into other fights. And, Wilder didn't agree to this, or Fury didn't agree to that. And until he feels like he's reached the point of no return, and then when the public, he feels like is fed up and is going to walk away, then I think at that point he will make the fight, and we will see it. So I hope it'll be late in 2019. Could be around this time next year that they fight. So anyways, gang, I am going to leave it there. I appreciate you for joining me. As I said, I will put out on Twitter, I am going to do a Periscope from ringside before the fight, and we will see what else I do. Check Yahoo Sports, got a lot of coverage on the fight there. I've had a ton of stuff. I did a story today on Jarrett Hurd. I got a story up. It was just published while we were talking about the effect of height on the fight. I did profiles of Tyson yesterday, a profile of Deontay the other day. I did a column on who the big loser in the fight is. Hint, it's AJ. I did that on Monday. I did a story on Luis Ortiz the other day. I had a story today on Jarrett Hurd. So a lot of stuff coming up. MMA, I did have a story today on Rafael Dos Anjos, Jim, and I will have a ton of stuff on UFC 231 next week. So I have a lot of stuff in the pipeline already coming. Appreciate everybody for watching, and we will chat with you soon.